Hi folks, delighted to have you all here in Wicklow, contrary to what the Cardiac say, the second best county in the country, because I'm from Galway. West is best, folks, that's the way it works. Absolutely thrilled to have all of our colleagues from across UK and Ireland to join us over the next 2 days. We have such an incredibly interesting 2 days ahead of us, and there's lots of outside. Don't worry, you won't be sitting down for too long. Just a quick note before we start. Joanne is an absolute rock star, and at times, sometimes it's forgotten because we're not in the world of Ironman. She is a phenomenal force and very busy and important. So I do want to make sure that everyone is aware that she did give a little plug for her triathlon sport earlier, but it's actually voted one of the most up and coming podcasts across the globe last year. So she is like an absolute rock star, so delighted to have her here today. And also, what did we call you the other day? One of the 50 most influential women in sport in Ireland. So just to know, we have a power force with us in the next couple of days. Also, she's a Nazi when it comes to timing, so I'm going to keep going. So my name is Louise, and I am the Director of Participation at Sport Ireland. Sport Ireland is one of the key sponsors of this conference, along with Fáilte and Cuilche, and we are absolutely delighted to be able to facilitate with the Outdoor Recreation Network, having you all here in beautiful Glendalough. We have in Sport Ireland, it works. In Sport Ireland, we have a very specific remit which predominantly focuses on sport and physical activity through our structured networks across the country, like Sport England, Sport Scotland, Sports Wales. We very much focus on participation in sport and physical activity. We look at our networks through governing bodies for sport. Everyone knows who soccer is, everyone knows who rugby is, everyone knows who basketball is, but outside of that, there's an awful lot more happening across the country in Ireland. And one of the areas that we really focus in Ireland is our local sports partnerships, and they'll get mentioned throughout the day. There's a couple of the guys here today as well, so I'll make sure that I point them out to you, so you make sure you nab them and understand what they do at a local level. Very similar to the active partnerships that happen in England, they are very much connected in with communities across the country. The difference being is they're very connected with Sport Ireland. We have a really close relationship with them, and decisions that we make at national level as part of that network get embedded in local communities across the country. Predominantly, those local sports partnerships are focused on the most disadvantaged communities in the country. It's important that you have an awareness of what an LSP is before we get into it, because we're going to be mentioning them throughout. Sport Ireland, a big part of what we do is the focus on participation and making sure that we have an active nation across Ireland. That is ultimately our vision. And Sport Ireland, as part of that, has, sorry, I always laugh at it because it's the most ridiculous target of 60% of people being active across the country. That excludes children and walking. So we have to get 60% of our adult nation active in sport and physical activity. And for us, specifically on my side of the house, we're very focused on the aspect of outdoor recreation. We have a huge remit embedded within Sport Ireland of how we maintain, support the network of outdoor recreation across Ireland, and that, as you can see, is listed up here. Very different to our counterparts in the UK, we have a national trails register which involves Sport Ireland indemnifying trails across the country. We have it very, very different. There's only now, we're thankfully with our Department of Rural and Community Development, we've recently had legislation change where we can actually have a little bit more personal responsibility when people go out into the outdoors, but that's only starting to appear now. Unlike the UK, in Ireland we have to have public indemnity on our trails, so there is a trails register. There's a standardised process of guidelines developed, and once you get onto that trails register, public indemnity is provided. Very different again to the UK. Ireland has a lot of small landowners, a lot of small holdings. I was recently in Scotland. There you go, that's a shout out for Martin, where we are. There you go. I only mentioned that 4 to 5 times yesterday evening. We had a long conversation with Aberdeenshire Council where they were having challenges with the local landowner over the course of maybe 100 acres. It was one landowner. If that was in Ireland, there would probably be anywhere between 15 and 20 landowners if we're lucky. It's a very different environment that we face. And it's a little bit more litigious, and we're very focused on supporting and working not only with our stakeholders and our national state agencies, but specifically our landowners, to really make sure that we can open up Ireland to be more accessible and to have more people out there enjoying nature and connecting to nature. Other aspects that Sport Ireland Outdoors is committed to is around training and education, activating, which is where specifically our LSPs come into play, activating the space of outdoor recreation for people. So getting people off the couch, getting them into the space of being more active. That's what our LSPs are looking at, and like I mentioned earlier, focusing on the disadvantaged communities. The idea and the intention is that ultimately the option will be that they can go into committed and long-term participation in our sports clubs, and that's the pathway. If they don't, that's even better for the outdoor rec side, and we get even more people active in our outdoors. We are active members of our Comhairle na Tuatha, which is essentially the it's the Countryside Council, for those of you who don't have Gaeilge immediately to hand. And it's essentially where we have national stakeholders come together 3-4 times a year, where we discuss the important issues and drive forward initiatives. One of those massive initiatives that we've done over the last 3 years is the National Outdoor Recreation Strategy. This is a cross-government, hugely supported initiative that was driven by our colleagues in the Department of Rural and Community Development, as well as key stakeholders around the table. We had every voice of influence in outdoor recreation in Ireland come together for a very long time, where we spoke for a very long time and developed the nuances of how we were going to make a massive step change in outdoor recreation in Ireland. And then, this is all the boring stuff now, I promise I'll be finished. And then we moved into working very much about delivering that National Outdoor Recreation Strategy. The name of that strategy is Embracing Ireland Outdoors, and it's the vision for it is a world of activities for all. So it really is about, as Joanne mentioned earlier, the elements of inclusion, diversity, bringing more and more people into the spaces of outdoor recreation, and how we together play our part in that space. It's an important one that has really impacted across the country. You can see from here that the government investment over 2019 to 2023 was did I get those dates right today? Hopefully. Was really quite significant, and it's only expanding even further. The ambition from the Irish government is quite significant, and they're trying to invest even more and more. I'm not part of the government, so I'm allowed to say that. I'm not a politician. It's only going to get more, and our recently elected new Taoiseach, as of 2 days ago, is from this area and is very much an advocate of outdoor recreation as well, given the amount of times he contacts me about outdoor recreation in Wicklow. So, a shout out to, we have one specific guideline that I just want to give a shout out to that we reference quite regularly about recreation in in Irish countryside. This is a leaflet and an informational booklet that we, through Comhairle na Tuatha and our partners in Comhairle na Tuatha, ensure that is developed and is consistent across the country. It really embeds an understanding specifically within landowners of their rights and their liability, and it really, I suppose, cuts through the noise of what you are and aren't covered for, especially when it comes to having trails on your land and through your land. There is no, as they tend to call it, there's no right to access, there's no right to roam. There is none of that in Ireland. We have a space where we have the goodwill of landowners who we work very closely with, not only with Sport Ireland, but all of our state agencies and all of our government partners, to ensure there is opportunity for more and more people to access the outdoors. Okay, quick snapshot. There was a huge amount of stakeholders in the development of the strategy. As I said, it was over 2.5 years, but in reality it was probably something that was in development for maybe 10 years. And there was a previous iteration, a similar version of it, maybe, I think it was 2004, 2005, I could have that wrong, Brian's going to correct me, 6, got there nearly, and sorry, I'm very young, I just can't remember back that far. And it was one that needed a rejig and needed a new appetite and needed more ambition into it. There was absolutely huge policy drive behind the original one, but this new strategy has really just invigorated specifically government departments, because there's huge opportunity across, as we all know, across all sectors of society. So, We have policy. How am I doing on time? Am I okay? Someone shout when I'm running over. We have policy in Sport Ireland as a state agency. We have policy from lots of different government departments. We link in with health. Obviously we have our national sports policy as the standard. That's our Bible. Don't ask me which action I'm supposed to be talking about right now, but it's one of them. And we have lots of different national action plans and national policies from different government departments that we work towards. As part of those of the last few years, there was an absolute call out, basically from about 2015, 2016, there was a call out of an audit of understanding what's out there. Where are the facilities? Who owns them? Where do they exist? And this very much was something that everyone in government departments were looking at each other. It was like that Spider-Man meme, looking at each other, well, you should do it, you should do it. So eventually we got round the houses and somehow Sport Ireland got nominated to be the key state agency to deliver on an audit of all the facilities across the country. Now, if you think about what that means in reality, you're talking about all of the clubs in the country for national sport agencies. That's fine, we could do that, yeah, no bother. All of the facilities owned by local authorities. Okay, that's a little bit more interesting. State agencies, some of them have absolutely incredible resources. They have loads of information on mapping and and they're way ahead of the game. Others are playing catch up. That's a bit kind of somewhere in between the two. And then you have other agencies that are desperate to get involved in this space. What we quickly realised after a feasibility study in 2019 was that what's the point of the audit? Like, what's it going to do? Who do we know? Great, okay, we know what it is. But what's that going to help with the local authority? How are the guys in the local authority is going to understand that providing us this information is really, really important and really pertinent to what we do next? And it just created an entire feasibility study, I suppose, from what we thought would be 2016, something really simple and straightforward. By the time we got to 2019, after a feasibility study, we understood that actually there is a huge opportunity here. We need to give more to our stakeholders to understand how we can get more out of them. So the more they put into the system, the more out of the database, the more that we could get more benefit out of it, and the cycle continues. Because the more we build it, the more, I suppose, the more they'll come. Is that what they say? So, excuse me. Thanks. You're just going to have to deal with it, lads. Sorry, this is what I sound like at the moment. So essentially, there was a couple of obstacles that out of the feasibility study that we really had to point out and really had to understand exactly how we were going to get the best out of it. The first thing was, if you put crap in, you're going to get crap out. It's still early in the morning, I'll behave myself. I'll tell you the true version of that later on. So it was really about authoritative data. Now two of my team are in the room at the moment and they are sick to death with me saying this phrase, authoritative data. We were not interested in events. We couldn't be because of weather, because of the way events are run across the country. We can't put something like that up on the system until the system is much more embedded within society. We were not interested in things like defibrillators. Defibrillators are facilitated by local authorities, but not consistently across the country. Some are maintained by community groups. The information around the defibrillators, if something happened and you went to our website to find out information and you went to the wrong one because the information was not authoritative, that could have been life-threatening scenarios. They are like very, very basic examples. The actual simple examples of, I want to go on a trail and the trail was closed and it hasn't been updated on the website. You won't go back to that website, or you'll have less trust in your website. So for us, authoritative data was the key of how we would make this opportunity a success. We wanted to make sure we provided accurate information to the public and look at how we provide and provide benefit to the data providers, as I mentioned, but also facilitate national and local policies. As I've mentioned before, we have many masters in Sport Ireland, and we also have a lot of key stakeholders that we want to make sure that we're providing as much benefit to them as we're getting back from them. So it was really about making sure that we tick all the boxes. And I love and I'll streamline and make sure, lads, can we just do it once and do it right? So that really started off the collaborative approach. The easiest way to describe what we have created is the National Digital Database, is this graphic. I know it's quite basic,
But essentially, we brought all of, sorry, my PowerPoint skills are crap. This says recreation and amenities, I promise. But essentially, we brought all of the mapping data for all of these 4 spaces into one database. We brought it all together to really ensure that people understood where you could be active across the country. There's lots of benefits to this. From an outsider, from a public point of view, it's all about impacting the health and well-being and giving people accurate information, providing them with information around are there toilets at the venue, are there benches, as we go on and as we move through the process of developing the system, we are going to be putting stronger and stronger information into it. Big part of what we're going to be doing is actually looking at how a system like this will support decisions around funding and policy. So no longer, I think our colleague is gone, our politician is gone, so no longer it'll be which politician is screaming the loudest for their area. It'll actually be looking at mapping the data against CSO data, looking at what is happening in society, where the facilities are, and what needs to happen to match between facilities and where the population are living. It is a massive, massive, incredibly intuitive system. So the data that we've included in it initially, I really need to just make sure that you're all aware. We're in phase 1. We currently, at the moment, I'm going to question Duncan, I think it's 5 phases. So we're very much at the start of this process. We have huge ambition with this project, but it is very much, let's get the information out there, let's get started, and let's get moving into the space of what we can make it best. As you can see, we've come across as much as possible. The data then will be up on open data portals as well to ensure that we have as much access for people to manipulate the data for their own resources as well. What we did was, and this is a very, very basic thing, is we literally sat with stakeholders from across every sector in Ireland, and I say this painfully because I was only like a small part of it, and sat there and went, we need these lat-longs, we need this information, we need it broken down into each area in every county in the country. Every 31 local authorities with lots of personalities, 8 state agencies with lots of varying needs. Oh, and wheelchair were the best because Brian's sitting in front of me, obviously. And we had a huge amount of connection with a lot of our governing bodies for sport. So that it was about making sure that if I want to be active in Ireland, I can go on one website and find out if it's a club, if it's a walk, if it's a beach, if it's a playground. Can I bring my dog? Is there a toilet there? It's all in one place, right? And that's for the public. So, what happened then in the background? What happened then in the background for the stakeholders is very much a planning tool and very much about policy. And what we've done is we have set it up on a GIS system where you can embed information, open source data from lots of different agencies. So if you want to talk about land use, you're in a local authority, you're talking about land use, you want to understand how close public community field use field is to a school. Is it a 15-minute walk? Is it a 15-minute drive? What's in the area? Can we develop more? Or is there a need to develop more? Do we need another playground in that area? All of this is now no longer how many departments do I need to talk to in a local authority. There are 3-4 buttons that you can click that we can now create that space for the local authorities. So yes, for the public, it's brilliant, it's lovely, it's fantastic, but the impact of what it's going to have on policy and decision making is quite significant. We have we have a huge amount of information on the planning and analysis, and also there's a lot of asset management that's happening in the background. We're currently developing, the website is up and was launched last year. We're currently looking at how we impact on an app as well. Interestingly enough, the market research told us 50% wanted an app, 50% didn't. Something to do with phone storage. Just thought that was kind of an interesting tidbit. So, there's lots of reasons why we went down this route, but one of the main things and the objective from the very, very beginning was, and ultimately what Sport Ireland is about, how do we get more people active? And this for us made complete sense once we went through our feasibility study, understood what we could offer, so in order to get more out of our stakeholders, to serve the public, but also make better decision making and better policies at the top. Surprise.
Get Ireland Active was launched in October 2023, and this is just an example of what the graphics look like. And we have huge amount of work. There's a massive amount of work in the implementation phase. The branding and PR was probably one of the most challenging because everyone had an opinion. Everybody wanted to call it a different name, me specifically. And there was a lot around, in Ireland, similar to Wales, we have dual language, so there's an awful lot of making sure that it is represented in both Irish and English. Get Ireland Active is the website, and you can log on. You can easily find out information of where to be active in the local area. You can also see what's happening around the country. It is a very, very comprehensive list of all sports clubs in the country, all local authority owned facilities and state agency facilities. This is stage one. The ambition for next round and the round after is very, very significant. Hopefully it'll give you an idea of what we've done over the last couple of years and who we are, and I was only 3 minutes over. So, thanks very much folks.